Can you recall the moment when you started listening to music in a way that went beyond simply listening to it and you started looking a little deeper?
I don't know if I can recall the exact time, but I was pretty young when I started like listening to music. So an older brother that kind of was already really into music, so but I think probably listening to things like the Beatles and stuff, or any sort of that like guitar melodic music, probably resonated at that time. Just like the sounds, it wasn't just the stuff that maybe you heard like the charts or whatever, even though it was quite guitar music kind of dominated even at that point. So yeah, I was maybe like 7 or something like that. It's quite young.
When do you think, as a duo, as Memes, that you found your voice and you kind of broke free of your influences and found something unique that felt distinct to you?
I think probably a lot of it was sort of accidental. So, like I'd never, like usually I just sort of played guitar in bands, and this was more like we were kind of, just trialing things out at the start. So, and then I think, not using sort of live drums, we maybe found that was a sort of like niche for us. So I think probably quite quickly, because we got offered a gig quickly, and as soon as we'd done that, then once we'd sort of overcome that challenge of not playing like sort of full band, and I thought we sort of felt, okay, this is maybe something, albeit we maybe weren't great that night, that we could sort of make that our thing. And so we're kind of forced into it a little bit, which was good. Needed to be.
One of the songs on the self-titled EP that came out November last year? Yeah. So what, you kind of admit, I think it's in the opening lines, to quite often not listen to a song the whole way through and kind of losing interest about halfway.
Yeah.
How do you see that short attention span manifesting itself in your creative process and in your own music and the way that you approach it?
I mean, I think sort of the Memes thing's definitely been part of the thing. Again, I think we sort of figured out early on, I think it's on the back of like the first song we released, was that maybe, try and keep things direct and like kind of coherent as well. Like we like lots of different music, but for this thing we just thought, let's just keep it, if it's like the short kind of loud sort of like punky vibe song, which is stuff that we love anyway, then let's just keep it all to that kind of thing. I mean, that's that sort of was a bit of like tongue in cheek. I think we both would listen to music all the way through. But I mean, it's true. Like I think when people, share music with you, doesn't have that same, I don't know. It's not like if you, because you're not buying like anything physical, so you don't feel that same. If you don't like it after a few, so you just turn it off.
It becomes more disposable.
It definitely feels more disposable.
But the new stuff, the way that it seems to combat that is by being so visceral and by being very, although we're kind of, I want that song like 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that because every moment there's something new happening and it kind of has that momentum and that pace to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of that's to do with like Paul's, and really kind of, he's quite cutthroat when it comes to keeping all the fat off a song. I mean, I think like we've got one track, Cheer Up, which is like almost like indulgently long, but we felt that was all right because the rest of them are the opposite of that, and we are like, we just try and keep them, try and avoid them having any moments where like we get bored if we listen to it and we think, are we getting a bit bored at that point, just chop it out. That's generally the aim.
With Cheer Up as well, though, does the length almost come from the concept of that song?
I think so, and it's definitely it's a different style to the rest of the song, so I think that's partly why we thought we'll just let that one kind of breathe, and actually when we play it live, it's kind of play it different each time and play it probably for like 6-7 minutes or whatever, and after this singing part, which is only maybe 2 minutes, then it's just kind of whatever goes, and wants to keep a bit of that in the recorded version as well.
I think you've spoken about as well with Jobs on the last EP that it was very much a direct reaction to Happy Shopper in terms of trying to go against the more melodic side to that and combat it with something a little bit more punky and a little bit more raw. How does your approach differ when you're reacting to something very directly like that in a songwriting sense, and the way you approach the songwriting of the new track?
I think probably I think like the first song, the Blah 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 track, was a kind of blueprint for probably what the band is, and probably is the best representation of what the band is, in every aspect of it. So I think it's not any sort of plan to sort of go down any specific route, but I think that's probably the one thing we would try and broadly keep in line with when we're putting stuff together, is keep it like memes, what we think the meme thing is, which is probably that song probably sums it up best.
How have the parameters of what memes is changed over the course of the band's history so far?
Probably not much, to be honest. I think we're still kind of, it's the same sort of thing. Like, we just try and keep it sort of musically simple and sort of humorous lyrics, kind of keep things short, sharp. That's kind of the we're still very much in that mould at the moment. We've not kind of got any like backing choirs or anything, not yet. It's on the way.
A lot of the songs too, they're very observational, often kind of observing things that are happening before you. Does being a songwriter make you notice things that other people may not?
Well, I mean, Paul writes most of them, but I think it's just I think everyone kind of, even like when it comes to observations, I think everyone notices things when they see or think or hear of them. But I think for this, it's always just try and be kind of, I don't know, keep them kind of humorous, or even things like So What, as you'd mentioned, like that's sort of relevant to just like everyone's probably aware of that sort of disposable feeling nature of music, but like it's kind of a funny way to put it, which is all we always try and capture a bit of that.
Makes it a little less depressing.
Exactly. Take something depressing, make it funny. Yeah.
We've touched upon it a few times, the sharpness of them, the punk ethos of them, and the fact that there is always a clear message at the heart of the songs.
Yeah.
When you take a topic, how do you boil it down and get to the core of what you want to express about it? Because often they can be complex things, but you always manage to break it down into a simple fashion and minimalist,
I think probably just by the needs of the songs themselves, by, if the music's quite short, if there's not much time, then it's just a case of trying to have an idea and work around that, keep it, almost like slogan-like, keep it kind of simple. And so, I don't know, sometimes it's maybe easier to make a point doing it like that than kind of diatribes of words that it's harder to put together. Like if you're confined by you've only got 1 minute and 40 seconds and there's only 10 lines in the song, then that it's good to define parameters, I think, sometimes.
I like that idea of it being slogan-like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose that's kind of what it is, and that's kind of what memes are. It's like slogans. They're just sort of like supposed to make a point and
having an impact with one image.
With one image, just imagery and kind of, but memorable, and so that's it. All try and tie it into that.
How do you see that ethos translating into your stage show and your live presence?
I mean, I think the live thing, I don't really know where that's all came from. Like, kind of shouting and bawling and being. It's just it just seems like that's what we want to be like when we play live. It's just, I think it's the nature of the sound of the songs or whatever, and just kind of make you want to just act a bit crazy.
Just a natural extension of
I think that's it. It's just a natural extension of what. There's nothing really predetermined about it. It's just just when we're playing. A lot of the songs are really fast, so it's just like seems natural that's just a reaction to it, really.
Do you think you're an introvert or an extrovert?
For me personally, I don't know, probably a mixture of both. I mean, probably, or maybe on stage like extrovert, but I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm personally particularly extroverted. I don't think so. Unless I've been drinking, then I definitely am.
If you're it's interesting you're saying, you're a mixture of both. If the extroverted side comes out on stage, where do you see the introverted side of yourself in your music? Or in memes?
Probably anytime there's any glimmer of like melody or like, a nice guitar part or something, that's probably the only, and that's very rare. So, we try and keep that to a minimum, but you know, every now and again something will slip through that's a bit more mellow.
What's the lesson you've learned about yourself from creating music with memes?
That it's really hard to sing 2 nights in a row when you're shouting and bawling, and I need to get some honey or something to sort it.
Thank you very much, man.
No, thanks very much. Cheers.